Do you ever find yourself tapping your foot, looking at your watch, and feeling frustrated because someone else is running late? It can be incredibly annoying when we feel like someone else's lack of punctuality is holding us up. But did you know that different cultures have different attitudes towards time? In some cultures, being late is almost expected, while in others, being even a few minutes behind schedule is seen as disrespectful. Here's a startling fact. According to a study by the travel website Expedia, Americans are the second most punctual people in the world, with only Germans ranking higher. On average, Americans arrive at work 4.8 minutes early, while the British arrive just 1.3 minutes early. But whether you come from a culture that values punctuality above all else or one where schedules are more fluid, it's important to remember that time is a finite resource. In this video, we'll be exploring different attitudes towards time and how you can more efficiently manage your expectations. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Monochronic cultures, such as those in North America and Western Europe, view time as a resource that can be managed. They believe that time is money and that schedules should be followed as planned. Interruptions and distractions are seen as detrimental to productivity and should be minimized as much as possible. In fact, many companies in these cultures have strict policies against using phones or checking emails during meetings or other work-related activities. Deadlines are also considered commitments that must be met. In these cultures, it is important to finish projects on time, and failure to do so can have negative consequences. Punctuality is a top priority, and being late is considered disrespectful and unprofessional. For example, if a meeting is scheduled to start at 10 a.m., it is expected that everyone will arrive on time and that the meeting will begin promptly at time it was scheduled. Working with people from monochronic cultures can be challenging for those from more polychronic cultures. For example, in some countries in Latin America and the Middle East, time is viewed more fluidly and interruptions are more common. Meetings may start late and run longer than planned, and deadlines may be seen as more flexible. To work effectively with people from these cultures, it is important to be aware of these cultural differences and adjust your expectations and communication accordingly. Overall, understanding the attitudes toward time in monochronic cultures can help you work more effectively with colleagues and clients from these regions. By respecting their schedules and deadlines, you can build stronger relationships and achieve better outcomes. Polychronic cultures, on the other hand, view time differently. Time is not seen as a resource that can be managed, but rather as something that is fluid and flexible. Schedules are often subject to change as events and circumstances change. Interruptions and distractions are not viewed as bad, but rather as normal and expected. Deadlines are seen more as goals that may or may not be met, rather than as absolute commitments that must be kept at all costs. And finally, punctuality is not always a top priority in these cultures, as other things such as relationships and socializing may take precedence. Working with people from polychronic cultures can present challenges for those from monochronic cultures. For example, if a deadline is missed, it may be seen as a lack of respect or commitment to the project by those from monochronic cultures. However, in polychronic cultures, missing a deadline may not be viewed as negatively, as long as progress is being made and the relationship between the parties remains strong. It is also important to be flexible and adaptable in these situations, as schedules and timelines may change frequently. One example of a polychronic culture is Latin America, where relationships and socializing are highly valued. Meetings may start late and run longer than planned, as it is important to take the time to build and maintain relationships. Another example is the Middle East, where interruptions such as phone calls and visitors during meetings are expected and may even be seen as a sign of respect and importance. In conclusion, understanding the attitudes toward time in different cultures is essential for effective communication and collaboration in today's globalized world. By recognizing and respecting these differences, we can work more effectively with people from diverse backgrounds and achieve greater success in our personal and professional lives. Now, let's explore the challenges that arise from these different attitudes towards time. The question is, which attitude is better? Each attitude has its advantages and disadvantages. For instance, the monochronic culture's focus on punctuality can lead to greater efficiency and productivity, but it can also create stress and anxiety when deadlines are not met. Meanwhile, the polychronic culture's flexible attitude towards time allows for greater spontaneity and adaptability, but it can also result in inefficiency and missed opportunities. To illustrate this point further, let's take the example of making a restaurant reservation. In the US, when you make a reservation, you are usually expected to finish your meal within a certain time frame. However, in South America and Eastern Europe, you can stay as long as you want. This reflects the different attitudes towards time, where the former values efficiency and turnover, while the latter prioritizes leisure and enjoyment. Similarly, a German businessperson trying to schedule a formal meeting in Southeast Asia a month in advance may be surprised to find that the local culture is more relaxed about time and may not confirm the meeting until a few days beforehand. This can cause frustration and confusion for both parties, highlighting the challenges of navigating different attitudes towards time in a globalized world. In conclusion, it's not a matter of which attitude is better, but rather recognizing and understanding the differences and finding ways to effectively manage them in various contexts. Do you ever feel like your work-life balance is off? Well, it turns out that people in monochronic cultures tend to have a harder time balancing work and life than those in polychronic cultures. In fact, studies have shown that people in monochronic cultures work longer hours and take fewer vacations than those in polychronic cultures. In monochronic cultures, work is often seen as the top priority, and people may feel guilty for taking time off or leaving work early. On the other hand, in polychronic cultures, work is just one of many things that people prioritize, and it's not uncommon for them to take breaks throughout the day or even take longer vacations. Of course, when people from different cultures work or live together, there can be some challenges. For example, someone from a monochronic culture might feel frustrated if their coworker from a polychronic culture takes longer breaks or seems less focused on work. Meanwhile, someone from a polychronic culture might feel stressed if their boss from a monochronic culture expects them to always be available and working. So, what can you do if you find yourself working or living in a culture different from your own? Well, it's important to be open-minded and flexible. Try to learn about the culture and its attitudes toward time, and be willing to adapt your own habits and expectations. And remember, communication is key. If you're having trouble adjusting or understanding your coworkers, try having a conversation and asking for their perspective. Now, here's a thought-provoking question for you. Do you think that the way you view time and work-life balance is shaped more by your culture or your personal values? Have you ever noticed how stress and anxiety are linked to time management? Trying to keep up with schedules, deadlines, and appointments can take a toll on your mental health. But did you know that this impact can vary depending on your cultural background? In monochronic cultures, where punctuality is highly valued, the pressure to be on time and meet deadlines can cause stress and anxiety. In contrast, polychronic cultures tend to be more flexible with time, which can reduce the pressure and anxiety associated with time management. But what happens when you move from one culture to another? People often find it challenging to adjust to different attitudes towards time, which can impact their mental health. For instance, someone from a monochronic culture might struggle to adapt to a polychronic culture, where schedules are more fluid and deadlines are more flexible. So, what can you do to manage stress and maintain a healthy work-life balance in a culture that is different from yours? First, try to understand the cultural norms and expectations around time management. Second, be open to adapting your approach to time management. Finally, seek support from colleagues or professionals if you are struggling to adjust. Moving to a different culture can be exciting, but it can also be challenging. By being aware of the impact of time management on mental health, you can better prepare yourself for the journey ahead. And, to lighten up the mood, have you ever heard about the concept of Brazilian time? It means that if a meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m., it actually starts around 10 to 30. While this may cause frustration to those from monochronic cultures, for Brazilians, it's just a part of their culture. So, next time you find yourself waiting for a Brazilian colleague, just sit back, relax, and enjoy a cup of coffee while you wait. Remember, time is a valuable resource, but your mental health is even more precious. So, take care of yourself and your approach to time management, no matter where you are in the world. Technology has revolutionized the way we perceive time. The availability of digital devices and applications has made it easier to communicate, work, and collaborate across different time zones. It has also changed the way we manage our schedules and deadlines. However, the impact of technology on productivity and work-life balance varies across different cultures. In monochronic cultures, where punctuality and schedules are highly valued, technology has helped to streamline work processes and improve productivity. On the other hand, in polychronic cultures, where interruptions and distractions are normal, technology has made it easier to multitask and manage multiple priorities simultaneously. But despite the benefits of technology, it can also have negative consequences on our work-life balance and mental health. Constant connectivity and the pressure to be always available can lead to burnout and stress, especially for those who work remotely or across different time zones. Let's take a quick trip around the world to explore the different attitudes towards time in various countries. First up, we have the monochronic countries. Some of the countries that fall under this category include the United States, Germany, Japan, and Switzerland. These countries are known for their punctuality and strict adherence to schedules. For example, in Switzerland, trains run so precisely that if a train is even 1 minute late, it is considered a major delay. And in Japan, being on time is not just a matter of respect, it is an essential part of their cultural identity. Now, let's move on to the polychronic countries. These countries include Brazil, India, and many countries in the Middle East. In these cultures, time is seen as more fluid and flexible. For example, in India, it's not uncommon for people to arrive late to meetings or appointments due to traffic or other unforeseen circumstances. And in Brazil, it's not unusual for social gatherings to start hours after the designated time. So, whether you prefer to live by the clock or take a more relaxed approach to time, there's a culture out there for you. And who knows, maybe one day you'll find yourself enjoying a nice cup of coffee in a Swiss cafe or sipping a caipirinha on a Brazilian beach. As we conclude this video, we hope that we have shed some light on the impact of attitudes towards time on international business and cooperation. Different cultures have unique perspectives on time, which can either enhance or hinder communication and collaboration. It is important to understand and respect these differences to avoid misunderstandings and increase productivity. Remember, time waits for no one, but we can manage it wisely by adjusting our attitudes and behaviors towards it. So, let's strive to be punctual and productive, while also respecting cultural differences. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. So, please leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on our latest videos. And with that, it's time to clock out and don't be tardy for our next video.